Have you heard of Bitcoins, the newest form of currency on the internet? Jim, can you help us educate our viewers on what this is, how it's used, and what you think the future of it will be?
You know, as far as what it is and how it's used, it's an alternative form of payment for services or goods. And so that's what it is. I know there are services where you can actually purchase Bitcoins, and then you go to the storefront and you buy, for example, something that might otherwise come from Amazon, and then somehow they buy it from Amazon and ship it to you, and you pay them in Bitcoins, and I'm assuming they pay Amazon in cash. So that's, you know, that's essentially how it works. It's a payment. It's money.
Well, that was a quick segment.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem.
And I'll chime in on that as well.
What is the value? I mean, we used to be on the gold standard. We're not on that anymore.
No.
So our currency was valued based on gold in Fort Knox, right? What is the value of Bitcoin?
Well,
It seems to me there's a huge risk here.
There is a tremendous risk, and that's exactly the problem with Bitcoin. Right now, it's very popular, so there is a lot of consensus that it has value. But even though we're no longer on the gold standard, when you're dealing with any national currency, it is backed by the trust,
full faith and trust
in the government
United
of that
States
country.
government.
And
Right.
certainly the reason the dollar has been stable for so long is because the United States has a great deal of trust and faith that can be imparted into it.
Right.
Other countries, which are less trustworthy,
AKA Greece.
their currency, well, they're on the euro, but their currency, and they're dragging the euro down, which was great
Right.
when Drake was in Europe this year. But
Sure.
so the real issue with Bitcoin is it has every potential of being a bubble. So if one day everybody wakes up and they decide they don't care about
Bitcoin
Bitcoin,
bad.
it's
Whatever you
completely
have in your
worthless.
Bitcoin wallet, guess what?
Is completely worthless.
Well, and here's the other problem. At some point, the government's going to come in and say, "Wait a minute,
We need
how
to
can
regulate this.
How can we regulate or tax this?"
Need to tax it.
You
Here's
can
something
bet
else,
that's
though.
going to happen.
And it's anonymity. And although each Bitcoin transaction is recorded in a public log, names of buyers and sellers are never revealed. Only their wallet IDs. While that keeps Bitcoin users' transactions private, it also lets them buy or sell anything without easily tracking it back to them.
Well, and that's a big
That's
problem.
what has
because-
become the currency of choice for people online buying drugs or other illicit activities. Imagine
Or
guns on
Ashley
the black
Madison.
market.
Can
or-
you pay for
Your affair?
services at Ashley Madison?
Well, that's no longer private, so it doesn't really
Well,
matter.
that's true.
But let's not sell Bitcoin short. I'm, again, back to being the oldest one sitting at this table today. I remember when
they invented money.
Well, no, I don't go all the way back to inventing money, but I do remember when my father got his first credit card, called a courtesy card. Up until that point, everything was paid for and bartered and
Cash
in
check,
cash.
that's
It was
what it
cash
is,
or
yeah.
check. That's exactly right. And then since that time, we've seen the advent of what do they call it? Bank cards.
Right, debit cards.
Were debit cards.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, so let's not sell Bitcoin short. They may become a new form of.
I'm definitely.
M1.
I mean,
You're-
you know, I'm
I'm not
definitely
buying
a
it
debit.
yet.
I
I'm
think
not
you're
in yet.
absolutely right.
Definitely
Art.
a debit card user. I love going in the sheets and the guy who's outside there panhandling and says, "Hey, you got any money?" And I say, "Buddy, that's my card."
You know, the sad
And I'm
part
not
is here
lying.
in a few weeks you're going to have him with a card reader. So that's no problem.
Okay, I'll
That's
take
a
that.
great point. In England, I bet you they're already there. I mean, I was really amazed in
Well,
Europe.
there's no.
How you get on a bus and they swipe your card. I mean, you get
Absolutely.
They don't have.
Well,
they don't have panhandlers in Europe, do they?
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on! I thought that was the perfect place. I thought that was like Nirvana or something.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right, Art, about there is a change occurring. So we're on the cusp of a very large change in terms of technology, in terms of how everything else is working. I think the issue that we're all bringing up is not necessarily that Bitcoin is a bad idea, but it's a somewhat of a baseless currency system. So we as a society, as a culture, need to figure out exactly how it works.
Sure.
And ultimately, it's going to need to have some sort of backing that has more faith than just a consensus that it's worth something.
Do you remember the dot-com bubble?
Oh, I
The
remember
Yes,
that.
indeed.
dot-com bubble
Yes,
happened
indeedy.
because there was no real value. There was nothing behind all of that hype. And I worry the same thing will happen here.
Well, it's under the radar right now because I looked up today. It's 0.0001% of the GDP. So the government doesn't care right now because that's an insignificant number.
And it's bound to grow, but I'm gonna need to reel us in. So up next, Art Callahan leads the discussion about Planned Parenthood and a release of the new secret video. Stay tuned.